Gee, Mr. Castle, I don't know if we have enough footage to make a reel called Stunts of original footage. Let me see if I can pretend like I have a cigar. I don't have a cigar. Oh, yeah, here we go. Stuck on a Sharpie. Nah, kid, this is what you do. You go to some of the previous things that we did, and you pull a couple of scenes from each one of them. You got some animal stuff, animal thrills, you got some sports thrills, you got some fishing thrills. You take those out, and you put them together, and then we got a whole new film. I'm Skip Alzheimer, doing a very poor impression of Eugene Castle, the man behind Castle Films. And we just saw Stunts, which was a hodgepodge of newsreel materials. And they were probably things that he sourced from other newsreel companies, where he bought footage from them, or, who knows what he did. He used a lot of different things from lots of different sources. And so regrettably, some of this was some animals boxing, which was really horrible. So yeah, Castle Films is interesting nonetheless. Films that were made specifically for home markets. So somebody would get a Castle film catalog from their camera store, and they would say, "Oh, I want to buy this," and it's like $5, and then they would get it. So that's where Castle Films is. Oh, anyways, this is the AV Geeks lunchtime streaming show, and I realize I don't have my neon on. Neon on neon. Anyways, I've got a film on the telecine back here, and this one features a narrator that we all know and love. So this is What Do We Look Like to Others? Enjoy.
Each of us is different in many ways. In how we think, in how we act and react, in the clothes we wear, in the way we use makeup, in how we see ourselves generally.
Hi. Hi.
But when we get a job and go to work, it's important to consider how other people see us. For in most cases, no matter how competent and talented we are, it is they who will decide how far we go and how much success we enjoy in the world of business.
Coming up. Excuse me.
So that's the new mail boy?
the mirror than she does her own desk. She looks like she's going to a ball.
Oh, I love your hair. It looks beautiful.
Thank you.
It's really easy. I just wash it and brush it, and that's about it.
Whoops. Sorry. Thank you. Hi. 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 How you doing? Boy, how can he stand himself?
Do you guys know that new guy who works around here? You know, he's really big, hefty dude.
I don't know.
I wonder if he's ever seen a washed couple of
You'd think I had B.O. or something.
If you are correcting only a portion of an address of an insurance area on a blank PHI, you must also include any other information already on file for that area. The street address, for example, should never be changed on a blank PHI without also re-entering the city, state, zip code, and number.
That's no way to handle Thompson. He won't take that too long.
The same principle also applies to the insurance area.
She may be bright, but she sure doesn't show it.
Am I boring you?
No, Mr. Thompson.
You look like it.
I'm awfully sorry. I was listening to what you were saying.
I thought you weren't interested.
There, is that better?
Much. Now, where were we?
Insurance area.
All right. Before submitting any PHI...
Well, that's just too bad, mister. That's the way it is. There's nothing we can do about it. I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do about it. Goodbye.
That may be the way he talks to his friends, but you don't talk to customers like that.
Boy, has that guy got a lot to learn.
Easy. This is our bread and butter.
Yeah.
Are you the party I was just speaking to? Let me tell you something, mister. You're selling and I'm buying. And you better not forget that. You hear?
Marcy, are you sure you have that?
Yes, I think so. Hi, Marcy. Hey, guess what? Remember that dress shop we went to last week where they had those blue dresses I really like a lot where they're having a sale, a third to a half off. They had that red one you liked, too. Remember it? It was really cute with the little flowers all over it. Listen, when do you want to go to lunch? What time do you want to go?
Look, I can't really talk now, but any time you want to go is just fine.
But listen, oh, there's that new manager. Listen, is he married? Is he cute? Does he like him? That Tuesday, remember we were going to go to the show up. Mary can't go with us. She's got to go bowling or something ridiculous like that. What time do you want to go to lunch? Huh?
I don't know, anytime you...
Anytime. Well, listen, buzz me. Let me know when you want to go, okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll talk to you later, kiddo. Hi, Mary. How are you?
Mr. Clark, would you mind explaining that last part again? I didn't write down whether I was supposed to send the carbon to Mr. Walker at the first address.
Cutest long skirts, and they're all on sale. The whole store.
Dory's really a nice kid, but she spends more time talking than working. I'm afraid she's going to get herself fired.
The crummy department.
Nothing's wrong with my department.
Right?
Can't you do it right yourself?
We always do our part right. You guys are always...
No, it's
stay all hours of the night.
There goes Paul again. He's really a good man, but I sure wish he'd learn to get along better with people.
Around the room. If you make her do something...
I still think you're wrong. I think we agree on that.
Yeah.
I wonder if she really knows what she looks like.
Nice. Very nice.
Maybe I'm getting too old.
She'll never be able to top that act.
You're new here, aren't you?
Just started today.
And you wanted to make a good impression, so you wore your best outfit, right?
Yes, that's right.
Mind if I give you a bit of advice?
No, not at all.
Well, do you notice how everyone here is watching you? Well, that's because you're the prettiest girl here. I really don't think, though, that you have to wear anything quite that far out, though, to look pretty. It's kind of hard for the men to keep their mind on their work, and you don't want that, do you?
Well, not really.
That's good. What's your name?
Bobby.
Well, Bobby, why don't you give the men another treat for the last time?
Right now?
Right now. I wish I still looked like that. Let's face it, I never did.
Bring your husband, your boyfriend?
Would you like us to bring some?
Each of us is different in many ways. In how we think, in how we act and react, in the clothes we wear, in the way we use makeup, in how we see ourselves generally. But when we get a job and go to work, it's important to consider how other people see us.
Time to go home. Time to go. You guys have a nice weekend. Let us know, okay? Night, night.
Don't forget to bring the skis.
For in most cases, no matter how competent and talented we are, it is they who will decide how far we go and how much success we enjoy in the world of business.
Wow. 1972. That was something else. I didn't expect. I have some other films that Rod Serling narrates, and I think it's for Sandler as well. But that one was pretty great, and mildly sexist. But it's interesting because it kind of takes a pulse on like what was happening in the workplace at a given time. In the meantime, over at NASA, let's learn about lunar receiving laboratories. Enjoy.
In the Apollo mission, an important dividend for science will be samples of the moon's surface. We have sent machines to photograph and probe the moon's surface, and they were highly complex engineering feats. But in the final analysis, they were still awkward, groping machines. By actually going to the moon, selecting and gathering lunar materials, and returning them to scientists on Earth, man in space will make a very special contribution to our basic knowledge of the solar system. Of major importance to the scientific study of the material from the moon will be the Lunar Receiving Laboratory located at the Manned Spacecraft Center in Houston. This laboratory will dominate our attention immediately following man's flight to the moon. Here, first to an almost totally bare room, the astronauts, their spacecraft, and equipment will come upon their return. Here, investigation of the lunar materials will begin. Here, materials will be prepared for delivery to scientists in the United States and abroad. Here, data and knowledge will be amassed and centralized. But a first and major concern is for safety, a consideration which led to a unique design and construction. The laboratory will not only protect its test subjects from our Earth's environment, but will also protect our Earth's environment from the test subjects until they are proven safe. For example, in these quarters, the astronauts will endure several weeks of confinement and quarantine. The objective is to make certain they have brought nothing back from the moon which would contaminate the Earth, an extremely remote possibility. Their time, however, will scarcely be wasted. They will submit to extensive physical examinations and begin the historic reports on their flight to the moon. Meanwhile, work with the lunar materials, which will weigh a total of perhaps 50 pounds, will have begun, and seldom will an equal amount of any other material receive as much attention. Collected with geologic hand tools, designed especially for use on the lunar surface. The materials will be packaged in aluminum containers. These are designed to maintain inside the vacuum of space and to prevent contamination from the Earth's environment. After unpackaging operations in ultra-clean vacuum chambers, the samples must be proved biologically safe. This will be done in a series of tests using animals kept in germ-free surroundings as well as in normal environments. Other forms of life, for example, plant tissues and eggs, will also be used in the biological tests. Many of the biological safety tests will take place in cabinets equipped with arm glove assemblies. The cabinets enclose carefully regulated environments. Meanwhile, the scientific work will have already begun. As soon as the material samples are received, sorted, and classified, scientists begin preliminary investigations. They will study the physical, chemical, and mineralogical properties. They will analyze the minute traces of gases emitted by inorganic and rare matter. And by possible organic matter. They will measure radioactive characteristics, a job which must be undertaken as rapidly as possible to prevent loss of short-lived data. For this, there's a heavily shielded facility located 50 feet underground to help prevent interference from natural outside radiation. In many ways, the Lunar Receiving Laboratory will serve as a major tool for the scientific investigations of material from the moon. But the work here is only the beginning. Once preliminary investigations have been completed and samples have been classified and prepared for delivery, they will be distributed to more than 100 scientists. In laboratories throughout this country, in Europe, in Canada, in Japan, answers to basic questions of science will begin to come forth. Where did the moon come from? How was it formed? What is it made of? How old is it? Does it have any rudimentary form of life? These and many others. It has been said, in fact, that scientists can do generations of work with the samples from a single mission. At the same time, brand new questions of basic importance will be raised. And these new questions will be just as significant as the answers, because in knowing what to ask, we will know how to plan our future exploration of space.
It's fascinating. It's those little, like, short 6-minute things that they would probably show on television, and would also be press releases that they would send out to newspapers and things like that. And that's ultimately where that film came from. I found out that my alma mater, NC State, one of their alumnus ran a PR firm of which NASA was a client. And so he had a bunch of these little short news release films, and they're at NC State, and I volunteered to scan them for NC State for a project I was working on, the NASA project, and so that's where a lot of these kind of come from. So kind of fascinating little blips. Got another film lined up on the telecine, and this asks a question that was not answered in the previous film. This is, well, let me change the title here. You're gonna watch me type, which is great. The question is, what's wrong with vandalism? And this is 1986 when this film was made, so this is kind of late in the game. This is when video was beginning to kind of happen. So here we go. What's wrong with vandalism?
About you that other people see every day. But deep inside you is something that other people don't always see, your feelings. A lot of the time you probably feel happy, but sometimes you might feel other ways. For instance, suppose you owned something you liked a lot, and one day you accidentally broke it. If this happened to you, you'd probably feel very sad. The more important the thing was to you, or the harder it was to replace, the worse you would probably feel. It might take you a long time before you started feeling happy again. Other people have feelings too, and even though different people might look different on the outside, most people's feelings work about the same way yours do. Like you, other people are often happy. Once in a while, they have reasons for feeling sad, too. Of course, like everyone else, you have a lot more feelings than just happy and sad. Sometimes you feel bored or angry. And sometimes you feel like doing something you know you shouldn't do. For instance, there might be times when you feel like damaging something or breaking something on purpose. Everyone has feelings like this at one time or another, even adults. But why do people have these feelings? Sometimes people feel they'd like to damage something because they're bored and looking for something to do, or because they're curious about what will happen if they break something, or because they want to show off and think that might be a good way to do it. Or even because they're angry with themselves or with another person. But whatever causes these feelings, suppose people just allowed them to run wild. The world would be a noisy mess, and everything would be broken. No one wants that. So people have to learn how to manage these feelings. But suppose you don't manage these feelings, and you damage something on purpose. That's called vandalism. It isn't vandalism if you damage something by accident. And it isn't vandalism if you want to damage something but don't. It's only vandalism if you actually do it. Suppose one day you decided to break something just for fun, something that belonged to someone else. Suppose the thing didn't look very important to you. You might think, what would be the harm in breaking it? It takes some imagination to see the harm. One way to see it is to imagine how you might feel if someone broke something of yours. You might feel afraid and worry about what else the person might do. Or you might feel sad that anyone would do something like that. Or you might feel angry because you think you don't deserve to have your things broken. Even if the broken thing didn't look important to anyone else, it could have been very important to you for all sorts of reasons. Maybe you just happen to like it a lot. Or it was a gift from someone very special to you. Or you had some especially good times with it. Whatever your reasons for liking it, if someone broke it on purpose, you would probably feel terrible. So it's easy to see that if you broke something that belonged to someone else, the other person might feel just as terrible, and that's where the harm would be. But that's not the only harm. Someone would have to clean up the mess, and that would take time. And suppose the owner wanted to replace what was broken. That would take time too, and cost money. And it's possible that there wouldn't be enough money to buy another one. Then what? The owner would have to get along without it. So it's pretty easy to see that if you damage something that's owned or used by someone else, you can really cause a lot of harm. But what if you damage something that's used not just by one person, but by many people? Suppose you were very angry about something, and suppose you didn't control that feeling, but instead took your anger out on something many children use, a swing on your school playground, for instance. There would be many people who couldn't use the swing, maybe for a long time, and they would probably all feel bad. What else would happen? Someone would have to repair the swing or replace it, and that would take time and money that might have helped to buy something else, like a new slide or a new teeter-totter, but now it couldn't be spent that way. So if you didn't control your anger and you broke the swing, you'd really be taking something away from a lot of people you know. What if you damaged something that belonged to someone you didn't know? Suppose you saw a flower garden, and you had a feeling it might be fun to tear up that flower garden, and you didn't control that feeling. What would be the harm in that? You might not care about flowers. The flower garden might not be important to you at all. But it is very important to somebody, and that person would probably feel terrible because of what you did. But what if you damage something that doesn't look like it's owned by anybody? For instance, what if you decide to write on the wall of a large building, like a post office, or your school, or a restaurant, or a department store? Would that harm anyone? The answer is yes. Every building is owned by somebody. sometimes by more than one person, sometimes by many people. You might not know the owners. They might even live far from you. But whoever the owners are, in one way or another, they would have to pay to repair the damage. So if you feel like damaging something on purpose, and if you don't control that feeling, but actually do some vandalism, you don't just hurt a thing. In one way or another, you also hurt real people. That's what's wrong with vandalism. But no matter what your feelings are, if you try hard enough, you can manage them. Sometimes that's not easy, and there might be one time when it's especially hard. Suppose you're with some friends, and they feel like doing something they shouldn't do, like breaking a window. But you don't want to break the window. You do feel that you want your friends to like you, so at a time like this, it might be very difficult to keep from going along with them. Once again, though, it helps to think about what might happen next. Suppose you do break the window. Then what? A broken window can be very dangerous. Someone could get seriously hurt, maybe you or one of your friends. And vandalism is against the law, so you could get into serious trouble. But even if these things didn't happen, someone would still have to clean up the mess and pay for a new piece of glass and put it in. That would be a lot of trouble for somebody. So for all these reasons, you'd need to manage your feelings and not go along, even though that might be very hard. It could be that some of your friends don't really want to break the window either, but no one wants to be the first to say so. So if you speak up, you might actually be doing some of your friends a favor, and you'd be helping to stop something that could be really harmful. But what if sometimes you really have a lot of trouble managing your feelings, no matter how hard you try? Then you should talk about the problem with someone you trust. An adult might be able to help you think of ways you can handle your feelings without vandalizing. The important thing is to remember that in one way or another, vandalism always hurts real people. So if you feel like damaging something, and you manage that feeling, you have every right to feel another way. Proud of yourself.
The mic on. You heard me blathering on to one of my assistants in the background, so I hope I didn't say anything that was too offensive. I don't know. I tend to have a potty mouth sometimes. But I have taking responsibility. What's wrong with vandalism? The teacher's guide, discussion guide. And here's some questions we're going to ask after the show, after you've watched this. 1, do you take better care of your own things or other people's things? Discuss. 2, who owns these things? Books you take from the library, materials you use in your classroom, windows in your classroom, walls in the school washrooms, seats on the school bus. Who is hurt when these things are damaged or broken? Do things in your school get fixed after they are broken? Who fixes them? How long does it take? Who pays for fixing them? Before seeing the film, we were supposed to make a list of things no one else seems to own. Find out who owns each one and tell what you think would have to be done to replace or repair it. Breaking something can be a way of getting back at someone you don't like. What could you do with your feelings instead of breaking things? What could you do to get along with people you're angry at? Do things people break on purpose always belong to the person they're angry at? Why would people break something that belongs to someone who has never done them any harm? Why do parks have signs that say, please don't pick the flowers? What excuse might a person use who took just one flower? What would happen if each person who used the park just took one flower? Who would plant new flowers? Who would pay for the flowers and the work of the person planting them? Is littering vandalism? Why or why not? Do you know anyone who has had their car vandalized? How was the owner hurt? How was the insurance company that paid for some or all of the damage affected? Was anyone else affected? Find out who manages a store where students buy things. Ask the manager to come to class and talk about why he or she feels it is important to decide against vandalism. Invite a police officer to your class. Talk about the effects of vandalism in your community. So there you go. Related films. Standing Up for Yourself, Saying No to Danger, Staying Away from Strangers. Those are ones that we have shown. Planet of the Tickle Bops. I feel like we've shown that. The Broken Bookshop, yes. And A Lunchroom Goes Bananas, yes. So, yeah. We don't always get to see a discussion guide, because discussion guides will help us figure out what was that film about? What's the point they're trying to make? Because sometimes it's not very clear. So there you go. All right, so this next thing we're going to watch is Weird. I got this from somebody who had a bunch of films in their closet, and they were clearing it out. And so there's no explanation beyond what was written on the can, which is 7 Wonderful Nights. And I was like, what is this referencing? I have no idea, because it's clips of things. They're all faded red, so I toned down the red. And so I don't know. I think they're TV shows, and my guess is that this was showing like 7 wonderful nights of programming on whatever network, and this was showing the new lineup of what's great and coming up this season on network blah. So here it is, 7 Wonderful Nights, and you can tell that there's some splicing problems. The frame rolls a bunch. There's all sorts of problems here. So, bear with this. This is not the most stable image to capture, but I figured you guys would dig it. So here it is, 7 Wonderful Nights.
Thank you. I knew you would. So I've made other arrangements.
What other arrangements?
Hmm?
Well, you just said you'd made other arrangements.
I've joined the district attorney's office as an assistant.
Assistant what?
District attorney.
You? My opposition?
Well, possibly, Mom, but not necessarily.
But you can't do that. You can't oppose me. I'm your mother. Boy, oh boy. You work your fingers to the bone, and what do you get? Cast off like an old shoe. Abandoned. Now, let me tell you something. I'm going to take some of that love and strength and energy I've given to him, and I'm going to use it for me. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I don't even know you. What are you doing in my car?
This ain't your car. It's my car.
Well, what am I doing in your car?
You don't know who I am?
Richie Wells.
Right.
Crank.
Cranks. John Layton and Marino Mazzei star in Jericho in color.
So you can tell this was a mess.
Franklin Shepard, Captain, United States Army. In charge of the top secret counterintelligence team, codename Jericho. Jean-Gaston André, Lieutenant, Free French Air Force. Specialty, armament, high explosives, infiltration. Nicholas Gage, Lieutenant, British Royal Navy. Specialty, underwater demolition, sabotage.
Jericho?
Jericho.
This fall, you'll be enjoying 2 great movie nights as this channel brings you the new CBS Friday night movies. Be front row center Thursday and Friday evenings for outstanding late release hits with your favorite stars. For example,
Bye Bye Birdie, the smash musical hit starring Dick Van Dyke, Anne Margaret, and Janet Leigh. Marlon Brando's spectacular western, One-Eyed Jacks, co-starring Carl Malden. Fred Astaire and Debbie Reynolds in a sparkling comedy, The Pleasure of His Company. Alfred Hitchcock's thriller, Psycho, starring Tony Perkins, Vera Miles, and Janet Leigh. Audrey Hepburn and George Peppard in the enchanting romance, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Peck, Anthony Quinn, and Omar Sharif in Fred Zinnemann's compelling drama, Behold a Pale Horse. Jack Lemmon, Romy Schneider, and Edward G. Robinson in the zany comedy, Good Neighbor Sam.
Ben! Dear! These are for you. Don't think I'm crazy. We're going to celebrate. The most wonderful thing happened today. It's amazing. I went into the office, you know, and I was going to ask for a...
You must be Sam. I'm Min's friend, Janet. Janet Lagerlof.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Lagerlof. Oh, you make yourself at home.
Thank you.
Oh, my goodness.
Bing Crosby, Oscar winner Grace Kelly, and William Holden in Clifford Odets' The Country Girl. The beloved Meredith Willson musical starring Robert Preston and Shirley. spectacular titles and outstanding stars you will see next season on the CBS Thursday and Friday night movies.
The Andrews clan of wretched color... away from... away for comedy as Ann Sheridan, Douglas Fowley, and Ruth McDevitt star in...
This is good. Believe me, Grey Goose, this'll straighten you out. Grey Hawk.
Greyhawk and Braves go on warpath, bring many scalps. Kiowa!
The difficult they do immediately.
Well, now, there they are, the new shows. The new stars, the new excitement that'll make the 1966-67 season the brightest ever. It's a great lineup. It's spiced with outstanding special programs, too, of course. The premiere week starts Sunday, don't forget. That's September 11th. So you'll be watching right here for 7 wonderful nights of television all season long.
Questions. And I appreciate the digging that was done. Mike, thank you for finding CBS as the culprit here. It's weird. This is a weird thing. And so every time the film started and stopped, it's because a splice broke, which meant that this was not packaged as like a full thing. Like you saw a countdown, you saw... And so each segment that was talking about a TV show or movie, or TV shows mostly, those splices broke, and so we were running it through this guy behind us, and the splice would break, and so it would just stop and go, and then my intern at the time would go and kind of quickly do a quick tape splice and then run it again, and so what is this? And it's obviously missing the beginning, but at the end, you have that guy whose name I can't remember, Gary Moore, I think. so there must have been an intro of him talking. And so was this to be shown to television critics, or being shown to like affiliates? I don't know. There's no information about this, except that we kind of have an idea when it was made, and that most of those shows didn't survive. And a sense of what television programming was like back then. So this is why I collect 16mm. Is I collect things that I don't know what they are, don't know where they belonged, and it's part of us. We're the archaeologists that have to try to figure out, like, why did this thing exist, and where did it go? Where was it sent to? How did it end up with me? That type of stuff is fascinating. So thanks for tuning in today. Thanks, Alex, for coffee. Coffee is a great way to reward AV Geeks. Caffeine is the lubricant that keeps the machine at AV Geeks going. The machine, not that machine, but the machine that is my brain and my muscles, and those of my assistants. So thank you for buying coffee. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/avgeeks. You can also go to avgeeks.com and see other things we have online and buy DVDs. And tell the world you like AV Geeks. Hit the thumbs up button, or hit the like button, or hit the share this with friends and family who you think might like this, or with your enemies or workmates or random strangers. So we'll be back again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for Thanksgiving. It is an eating holiday, so I'm not going to go visit my family because we don't do that. But gotta figure out something. Anyways, please rewind. Love each other. And we'll be back again tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Everybody take care.